Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is George Moses, and I'm here representing the Regional Equity Monitoring Project Advisory Board, and I am also a monitor on that as a monitor. And I would also like to thank Councilman Reverend Ricky Burgess for this important, bold step to bring justice and equity to our communities. For many years, myself as an individual have been trying to access the community process of the Community Block Grant Program with not much success. If you could find the notice in the paper, if you could find where the meeting was at, and then if you could be heard, all well and good, but still nothing happened. Then you must ask the question, why are communities like Northside, Homewood, the Hill District, and other communities suffering while other communities are thriving? Is this equity or what? The question becomes. We just learned recently that it took a hurricane in the state of Texas to make them go back and revisit how they use their CDBG money. The HUD secretary denied the city of Dallas's CDBG application. And because of advocates fighting hard for inclusion into the process, they had to go back and redo their whole CDB application. And now as a result, the majority of the money will be spent in low, moderate income communities. We also were treated to a presentation by a lawyer, a fair housing lawyer, on the Westchester case in New York, where they also sued and warned for equity in the way CDBG funding is allocated. So we see Pittsburgh as a place where we can bring together, through the Reverend Ricky Burgess's leadership, and make that same initiative happen in our city. We were committed to working with other groups, community groups, and individual residents, because this is a community-driven process, not only by community groups, by individual citizens as well. So I thank you, Councilman Burgess, and we look forward to working with you to get this legislation passed. Thank you.
The other thing is that, as you see, there are community groups from all over the city who are coming down today to make statements of support for this legislation. It's very important that we have an open, transparent process where the community has full input in this process. The community, I believe, has to have the ability to help decide where these dollars are spent. They are our ground troops. They are in the best position to tell us where the needs are. And so I look forward to upcoming discussion today, and not only today, but this issue of reforming how we spend CDBG dollars, I believe, will be ongoing with these community partners over a period of time. And so we have a few moments. If there are some questions for me or for the group, I can answer a few questions before we conclude.
Councilman, since you introduced your legislation, a second, almost competing measure has been introduced for a 6-year capital budget plan, but the sponsor claims it's more inclusive, will allow more community groups to be involved than your legislation. How do you see it?
Well, this press conference really was not designed to talk about other legislation. I am in contact with Councilwoman Rudick's office. I really hope and I feel very confident that her and I will sit down in the near future and reconcile through conferencing our legislation so that we can put something together that the vast majority of our council can support. We do have some policy differences, but this conference was scheduled way in advance of yesterday's announcement, and we really are here to support the legislation that I have drafted.
Aside from CDBG money, I mean, do you see pushing the URA or sort of other development groups to sort of do more for the vulnerable neighborhoods that we're discussing today?
What I have said is that government money provides the seed money, and that oftentimes private dollars and state dollars and other dollars follow city emphasis and city priorities. We believe with the city of priority, you will see other dollars flowing into those poorer communities, working and moderate income communities. You'll see other dollars put into them. Our idea is to make those communities, to give those communities, make them a priority of our city, and they deserve no less. If we give resources based on need, then those poor communities certainly will be at the top of our list. And once we start giving them city dollar resources, we believe state, federal, and private dollars, as often does, will flow.
Is the 6-year plan something you would like to start now?
Yes, I would like to see that started for this year's budget. It actually is in our code that we're supposed to do it. There is a 6-year plan that is brought over to council. It actually doesn't go to the public. That it's brought to us, but it's very static. That is, in year 1, there is a project listed, and then usually that project, how much money it will cost over several years. What's not done is a comprehensive 6-year plan that changes year by year. So that you have a project that starts year 1, you have a different project that may start to year 2. Year 1 project keeps going, but year 2 starts a new project. So it gives you really a 6-year snapshot of all of the priorities and all the development priorities of the city. And so what it does is it gives community groups some assurance that their community project is in the pipeline, and it shows us where the emphasis of our city really is over a 6-year window.
Could I ask Mr. Moses to elaborate on something that you said? Mr. Moses, you were saying that you didn't think there has been much of a public participation component in the city's CDBG process up to this point.
That's correct.
Right? And you said the meeting notices are hard to find, but even if you show up at a meeting, have you ever had the feeling that the city officials planning CDBG paid any attention to what you said?
For the record, I think myself and my friend here, Mr. Paul O'Hanlon, we've attended at least a half a dozen meetings where we could find. Actually, it starts out with a notice in the paper, and if you're not familiar, if you go to the legal section in the paper, way down in the corner, there's a notice. And it tells you about the proposed hearings and the time and the place. And when you go, you'll find some city officials there, most of them city planning people, and they listen to you. They listen, but at the end of the day, our concerns and issues as they go forth are not addressed. And so we see this participatory plan and phase of it that would give the individual citizen and the community group the same full access to participate in this planning process is just absolutely essential.
One quick comment on it. If you go to number 4 in his proposed legislation, it says it mandates City Council to hold special meetings with registered community groups. So that's a big difference. Am I right, George, from the past? So you mandate participation of community groups such as the folks represented here today. I think that's a big difference and significant.
And I noticed that many of the residents that Ronell Guy has mobilized to be here, they're here. That's what it's about. I look forward to hearing them speak in City Council. Thank you for being here. I definitely want to thank Paul O'Hanlon, who has been in this battle. Yes. If it wasn't for Paul O'Hanlon, Ronell Guy, George Moses, and others who have been toiling away with these issues, and the Regional Equity Monitoring Project has a partner in them and other groups, and certainly with the leadership of Reverend Burgess, we knew that this City Council, we are going to demand that we win something finally, and that they work together on behalf of us. Thank you.
Before I close, one of the scheduled speakers, Aggie, if you want to come forward, if there's something that you want to say very quickly. Aggie Gross is the chairperson of the co-director of code, director of local government, and she's going to be part of this set of words, and then we'll call this a day.
Good morning. There's a lot to be said, but I'll keep it sweet and short. We endorse the legislation, and it's important. We're glad it's that it's been brought forward for transparency and accountability to the low, moderate income neighborhoods. What the federal intent is for that legislation.